With the weight of their unusual circumstances settling in, would Jacob and Sophie be able to find common ground and make their unlikely arrangement work?
The dinner went smoothly after the situation became increasingly clear to all four of them. However, the tension didn't seem to melt. Dracon was still worried about his daughter, Helen was trying to pacify everyone, Sophie was still pouting with the decision of her marriage, and Jacob, well, he was dealing with it all. The family began to eat after clearing the air, and slowly, light chit-chat about work and the weather began. During the conversation, Jacob learned that the interiors of the house were done by Helen herself. Helen's non-dragon identity was that of an interior designer, and she was a renowned name in her field of work. As Helen revealed more about her work, Jacob was surprised to find that one of the top 10 landmarks in Wisconsin was a masterpiece designed by Sophie's mother. It was the stadium shown in the promotional pictures of the admission brochures of his university. It just finished construction last year. Her father is a successful businessman, and her mother is an outstanding designer. The family is not just kind-hearted, but has also acquired wealth and have made commendable achievements. Even if they weren't dragons, Sophie had so many reasons to be proud of her parents. Jacob ate and thought at the same time. While dining, Helen was the one talking to Jacob the entire time. Dracon ate quietly beside her and would nod or add a word or two to the conversation. Sophie was eating with her head low, trying to focus on the food, but actually made a mess out of everything on her plate. Her peas were smashed, her chicken was in shreds, her gravy and potatoes were well merged together. She clearly had a lot going on in her mind. "Are your parents out of the country?" Helen asked Jacob. "Yes, they should be back next month," Jacob answered. Helen thought for a few moments and said, "How about a meet-up between the two families when your parents come back?" Jacob's heart sank. He was only beginning to accept his new circumstances, and the fact that Sophie was going to be his wife in the near future, but Helen's request put him at unease again. He thought, if Mom and Dad find out that I found a high school girl and chose her to be my wife, I have no idea how they would react. Helen could sense Jacob's hesitation, but continued talking. "Since everything is settled, it's normal for the two families to meet, isn't it?" Jacob looked at Helen and understood her perspective as a mother. She was right, and they had every right to meet his family. Sophie couldn't take it any more and burst out, saying, "I didn't say I'll marry him." "You have to be responsible for the mistake you made. If you hadn't run off after he swallowed your core, why would we be doing this at all? Are you being defiant because you want others to bear the consequences of your wrongdoings?" Helen's expression was still gentle, but her tone was firm and a bit harsh. Sophie stopped talking because she knew that she was in the wrong. Yet she was very unwilling to marry a complete stranger, that too a college man, for this kind of mistake. "Jacob is thoughtful, and I am happy with him being a part of this family." Helen looked at Sophie and said, "You're not a child anymore, and you can't always lose your temper every now and then. You have to start realizing your responsibility and being mature. How long can your dad and I protect you? We also want you to learn from what has happened. You can't continue to act like a spoiled child." Sophie looked at Helen with a sad expression when she heard her mother talking to her in a heated tone. She wanted to cry, but didn't want to disgrace herself in front of Jacob. All that she could do was bite her lip and endure it. Seeing Helen lecture Sophie, her father, Dracon, remained silent. He obviously agreed with what Helen said. Jacob felt that there was another meaning behind how Sophie's parents were treating this matter. However, Sophie was too young to understand. Are they trying to utilize this chance to entrust Sophie to me? Can it be that even with their capability and background, there are still some dangers that they can't talk about? Jacob thought. "Jacob,
Jacob.
Helen turned and looked at him directly and said,
Sophie still has the temper of a child. Please bear with her in the future.
Yes, I know. At this time, Jacob could only agree. Sophie's eyes turned red as if she was about to cry. Dracon sensed her feelings and said gently, Go get some rest if you're done with your dinner, Soph. Sophie nodded and went upstairs, climbing up slowly. Each thud of her footsteps resounded in the dining room. Jacob looked at her petite body moving upwards and then turned around to look at Helen and Dracon.
Let her be alone for a while,
Helen said. Jacob smiled awkwardly and began to focus on the remaining food on his plate.
Honestly speaking, what do you think of Sophie?
Helen asked after a few minutes had passed.
She has taken a big decision at a young age, and I admire her courage. She is a wise girl, and I think she will do very well in her life,
Jacob expressed honestly. He thought to himself, Sophie wasn't exactly acting mature right now, but who wouldn't want to run away from a situation like this at her age?
You're much more mature than her. Please take care of her for us. Her father and I are usually busy as we have a lot on our plate at all times. That's why we don't have much time to take care of her. It has made her personality more stubborn and arrogant.
Helen looked at Jacob and said sincerely, I'll do what I can. Jacob nodded. Even though he didn't really know how to take care of Sophie, he wanted to learn how to for her parents' sake, and, of course, he had to ensure the safety of his fiancée at the same time. He could understand how Sophie was feeling right now. When he was young, his parents were also busy working and didn't take care of him much. Therefore, he was more independent and had been a bit self-centered as well. It was fortunate that he had a caring grandma who always looked after him, and that allowed him to have better memories of his childhood. Sophie had nobody that would pull her out of her cocoon.
Could you go upstairs and keep her company?
Helen seemed concerned about Sophie. Jacob nodded and immediately put down his fork and got up. He was done with dinner anyway. He climbed up the stairs, glancing at a few abstract paintings that hung on the walls along the staircase. Jacob walked slowly. It felt like he was inside an art gallery. Through a small window in the corner of the second floor, Jacob saw the tranquil and beautiful garden from a window, and couldn't help but admire Helen's sense of design. Sophie's bedroom was the first room on the corner of the second floor. Jacob could tell by the tiny pink toy rabbit hanging on the door. He stood at the door and knocked. No sound came from the inside.
Hello, you won't let me in?
Jacob stood there for a few seconds and asked.
You can go complain to my parents if you want.
Sophie's heavy voice came from the inside. Jacob smiled and took a few small steps on purpose to create the illusion of him walking downstairs. She quickly ran towards the door. She actually thought that Jacob had gone downstairs to tell on her and rushed to open the door. She ran out of the bedroom, wanting to drag Jacob from the stairs. However, she didn't anticipate that Jacob would still be standing at the door. She smashed right into his chest and lost her balance. Jacob grabbed her by the waist and caught her just in time. He bent low to meet her gaze and said, "Could you not keep falling down all the time?" Sophie felt the warmth of his strong arms and hands on her waist, and she let him move away the few strands of hair from her face. Jacob continued to talk while still holding her. "Do you think I'm the kind of person who would tell on you?" Sophie blushed hard and slowly began to raise her head and body. She straightened herself, and Jacob slowly let go of her waist, but kept looking at her. "You sure look like a person who would tell on me, but I'm glad you didn't." She looked up at him and smiled. Jacob walked into her bedroom and got a playful slap from Sophie on the back. "Hey, where are your manners? Don't just randomly come into my bedroom." Sophie stood at the door and looked at Jacob. Jacob turned around to meet her gaze and came closer to her. "You have a problem with me entering my fiancé's bedroom?" You Sophie stared at Jacob. She was hesitant, but somehow she didn't want him to go away. Jacob looked at her eyes. They were red, and it seemed like she had cried. He saw this and quit the idea of teasing her anymore. He pretended to look around her bedroom casually. A poster of Sophie as a kid riding on her father's back in his dragon form was hammered in on top of the bed. She had a wide smile across her face. Sophie's mother had tried to make the room cozy and pretty for her darling daughter. But the high school girl sitting on the bed, confused about her future, made it all seem fruitless. Jacob sat down next to her on the bed and joined her in her silence.
Now that Jacob and Sophie have shared a tender moment, will their relationship begin to blossom? Can Sophie come to terms with her fate and learn to trust Jacob? Or will her stubbornness continue to drive them apart? And what secrets lie hidden beneath the surface of this mysterious family?
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.